Oh boy, do we have a lot to catch up on. Now, I was on a trip for the weekend, which is why I was out and about just making random videos on random video topics. However, I'm back. And it's actually going to be a pretty weird New Year or New Year's Eve for me because I am going to be spending my New Year's Eve in the hospital. Yeah, remember I was in the emergency room a few months ago watching the Stanley Cup Finals between the Oilers and the Florida Panthers? Yeah, so that was a while ago, and I think I can explain it later, but essentially they're doing some follow-up tests on me, so I'll be spending a lot of my night in the ER, which means that I actually won't be able to watch the end of the Canucks and the Flames game. Once the third period starts, I am supposed to be in the hospital at that time. So we'll see whether or not I'm able to make a post-game video or whatever. Maybe we'll vlog again from the inside of the emergency room. Hopefully I'm not forced to spend 9.5 hours in the ER like I was last time. Not because what I was going through was extremely serious, but because literally the wait times for everything was ridiculous. Like, don't even get me started in talking about hospital wait times here in Canada, but today we are responding to one of the biggest info drops for this season's Vancouver Canucks. Because we had ourselves some extra updates, some opinions by Rick Dhaliwal as to the timeline on Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. We had people talking about the adjustment of expectations. We have seen an article from Ian McIntyre where Patrik Allvin literally goes out there and talks about the idea of a Pettersson trade. There's so much to go over, and it all happened while I was on vacation, so I'm going to do my best to just go over the things that I think are worth talking about and just give my thoughts on them. And I want to give the biggest, juiciest, most heartfelt thank you to Vancouver Canucks news summaries on Twitter, because what they've been doing the past day and a bit has been such a lifesaver. It allows us to go out there and dive into some of these things, starting out with Elliotte Friedman's 32 thoughts from Monday. Canucks News Summaries gave us some summaries as to what he had spoken about in regards to the Canucks. He broke his silence on the Canucks because he's trying to do the right thing. There's not a lot of information on the info with Pettersson and Hughes injuries, so he did ask around to get what info he could. Friedman was told that Hughes and Pettersson injuries are not considered serious, and he also got a text from someone that said, "Does week-to-week qualify as not serious?" With Hughes, Friedman thinks that this is more about a precautionary injury. It's caution. Looking back at the Demko injury, it was a bad idea for the media to put timelines on his return. However, Friedman does not get the sense of a ton of worry that this is going to be a long-term injury for Quinn. He also spoke about the Canucks and what they're doing at this moment. This is the time of tribulation. They will find out who the Canucks can rely on. Some people may not be capable of taking the opportunity, and it'll be interesting to see who steps up in this time of need. Now, there were other people going out there and talking about the injuries to Hughes and Pettersson, like Rick Dhaliwal, who posted this on Blue Sky. No, not Twitter, but on Blue Sky. It wouldn't surprise me if Quinn Hughes comes back sooner than all of these week-to-week timelines. And with this, I kind of question, is this a Rick Tocchet thing? Is it a desperation thing? Or is it just a Quinn Hughes' injury really isn't all too serious kind of thing, that week-to-week isn't really all too accurate here? Maybe it is precautionary. Maybe the Canucks are just being careful. If it's not that big of a deal by the time next week rolls around, maybe Hughes does return. Who really knows? But for now, against Calgary later today, against Seattle in the next game, we won't have any Pettersson or Hughes. Now, let's go over to the Sekeres and Price hit from earlier yesterday as well, because Canucks News Summaries gave a summary as to everything. From there, it was Darren Dreger going on to Sekeres and Price with Jeff Patterson on instead of Price, because Price is doing Spengler Cup commentary. There were some comments made about trading JT Miller, comments about the Rangers, talking about the Pettersson and Hughes injuries. We can skip over the Miller stuff and leave the trade ideas to the other article here, but there were some extra conversations from the folks here. It does sound like Pettersson is more day-to-day, according to the Jeff Patterson-led Sekeres and Price show. Pettersson needs to get physically stronger, and they were told that Hughes should be out for 3 weeks or less. Okay, so a little bit more optimism here for Vancouver Canucks fans wanting to see Pettersson and Hughes return shortly. Of course, though, injuries are injuries, they're bound to happen, but I wanted to focus more on Elias Pettersson. That's why I wanted to skip the JT Miller stuff. We can make another video about the Sekeres and Price JT Miller talk. Actually, you know what? We could do that. We could split it up because I need to talk about a lot of Canucks stuff. But we're skipping Miller talk and going straight to Pettersson talk because yesterday we had ourselves this article published by Ian McIntyre on Sportsnet.ca. Q&A. Canucks GM Patrik Allvin expects more from top players in 2025. This is where Allvin goes out there and talks about this gosh darn team. Let's go out there and read some of the questions and the answers. I'm not going to read all of them. I just want to read the ones that I think are interesting and give us a lot to talk about. Starting out with this, was 2024 a good year for the Canucks? I don't know if you could ever use the word happy or satisfied. What I do like with the staff is that we're always striving to get better. And I think that's the hardest thing in this league, to find that consistency and push the players to get better, and value the 2 points more than the individual points. So, glass half full or half empty? That's a tricky question. If you take away the standings and points and just look at the games, I think there's a lot of frustration this year where we have seen in games that we play really well, but you've also seen in the same games giving it away. So why is it? Why is it that we can't find a stretch of consistency? You're losing points here, which all we know is going to be hard to make up in the second half. So I guess it's more half empty. Patrik Allvin, great answer. I love that. It's not wrong. I mean, I think he's 100% right, but let's continue on with some of these other thoughts. Rick Taka told us recently that with all the challenges the team has faced, missing each of its best players at some point, it's been a weird season, a roller coaster. Beyond that, he has said it's been hard to explain the team's inconsistency. What do you think? I think it's fair to say that you expect your best players to be the difference makers, and indeed the best players when you need them to be. And unfortunately, I think we haven't got the most out of those specific guys. If those guys would have performed to their capability, I think we probably would have won a couple more games. So it's hard. Do I expect more from them? Absolutely. I think we've been very fortunate up to this point that some of the players actually have chipped in and helped us out a lot. So, there you go, Allvin acknowledging that the best players on the team need to be better. Let's skip over some of the conversation about Hughes and Miller and dive into the big fish of a question that everybody is talking about. You have an out on the contract because Pettersson's trade protection does not start until next season, but is moving Elias Pettersson actually possible? Well, you know Jim Rutherford's history. We want to build a team that sets us up for long-term success, building around the long-term deals of Miller and Petey, having Quinn and Demko locked up, Hronek and DeBrusk. I mean, those are big pieces. Petey has shown up to this point that he is an extremely talented quality player that could and should be a number one center. I believe in him. I believe that he's capable. But he needs to mature and understand that there are certain expectations and it does not get easier. And you need to face the music when things don't go well. Is a trade possible? I guess I would say anything is possible. And there you have it, from one bald man to another. Patrik Allvin has just gone all Kevin Garnett on us. Anything's possible. Anything's possible! And that is exactly what he said. An Elias Pettersson trade. Maybe not likely, but anything's possible. You know, Patrik Allvin, I say this all the time, and I have been saying this ever since the guy was brought in as the new GM of the Canucks, but this is such a breath of fresh air. From Jim Benning to Patty Allvin. Ruthless. Absolutely ruthless. He's already garnered a reputation for being one of the most difficult negotiators in the NHL, whether to do trades or free agent contract signings or extensions, negotiations, but even in the media. He's saying, yeah, like our top tier guy, our $11 million superstar, he's talented, he is a number one guy, but he needs to be more mature. He needs to understand this about the quality of being a superstar. You need to face the music. Is a trade possible? Anything's possible! Okay, he doesn't scream it like Garnett did in that Boston Celtics video, but you get what I mean. Does this mean a trade is going to happen? No, absolutely not, but the idea was not invalidated. It was not totally shut down. And ultimately, I do think that if the Canucks were to trade Elias Pettersson, they would lose the trade. No matter what it is they get back. You're not going to win an Elias Pettersson trade. It's very difficult to do that, and we can talk more about that in today's next video, because we're going to also talk about JT Miller. We can continue our Elias Pettersson talk over there, but because videos on YouTube are 10 minutes long, we like to put them in that 8 to 10 minute range. We'll end this video off here while I go eat breakfast or something and then fix my voice and all that. Or we can talk about Puljujärvi. If he does get claimed, who knows? But either way, thoughts in the comment section below about Elias Pettersson, Patrik Allvin talking about a Pettersson trade. Do you think it's going to happen? Not if it's possible. Anything's possible! But is it going to happen? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.